Hi, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. Today, I have as my special guest Tom Borg, who is the founder and president of Tom Borg Consulting. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tara. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And it's always a pleasure to speak to you. And today we're going to be talking about another business topic. In fact, we're going to be focusing on mission statements as we start off the new year of 2023. But before we dive into that, I'd love you to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a business consultant. I work with a lot of small businesses in the area of leadership, communication, and culture. So essentially, we help them run a company that's more people oriented and at the same time creating the kind of company that services and exceeds the expectations of their clients and customers. That's the goal.
And that sounds like a great goal indeed, especially when it comes to making it a people oriented company. It's really, really important in our somewhat disconnected world. So, connection is key. So, today we're going to be talking about mission statements and their importance to a company and all the good things around that. So, why don't you tell me, like, start off with why are statements so important to you as a topic that you deal with your clientele?
Well, the reason a mission statement is important to any organization, and quite frankly, we should have our own personal mission statements, but it puts into writing the purpose, why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing. That's the real essence of a mission statement.
And like, what's an example of like if somebody had a personal mission statement, like if we just had it for ourselves, like what like might be an example of that?
Hmm, might be, oh, like my purpose is to help I'll give you my personal mission statement. My mission is to help business owners and their teams go to the next level of their professional and personal development. That would be an example that I've used for myself.
Okay. And so, why is a mission statement like what is a mission statement exactly when we're talking in the context of a business?
Well, first off, a mission statement, oftentimes I run into companies that have had put one together and
Hmm.
it's wasn't done the right way and it doesn't mean much to the people that are part of the organization presently because maybe the mission statement was put together 10 years ago, hasn't been updated. Most people don't even know where it's at. They can't even find it. Seriously, seriously. So with a mission statement, it's something that needs to be put together with a lot of thought, a lot of interaction, and I think that's the key in starting a mission statement, using it in the proper way. Uh, does that? uh,
Well, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that it kind of explains it. But I mean, like, with a company, they just start out. Do they really have a mission statement? Do they really know? Are people really worrying about it, like when they just start out, or is it just something that evolves over time?
I think initially the business owner would have an idea of why or he or she is in business and what he wants to accomplish, what they she wants to accomplish. Whether they actually spell it out on paper, that that needs to be seen. But the key is it does need to be put into words, put down on paper, something that people can see and agree with. Now, we'll talk about a way to do that here today. And it's not just we just rattle it off the top of your head. We need to really look at what are our own personal and professional values, right? Our values, what's wired into us, why do we do what we do, and get that articulated so that we're clear on what those are. Now we can start to put together a mission statement that reflects these values. That's the key.
As I'm trying to articulate the beginning of this interview,
Hmm.
one thing I'm thinking about
Hmm.
is, when people start a company, and we're talking more about in the startup world, they have that product or they have that service, and that's really where their focus is, but
Hmm.
they're not really backing up the train and looking at what is my overall purpose necessarily. They have an idea, they want to go to market, they want to get that out there, and then they kind of probably work the other thing around it.
Hmm.
Is that what you've seen from your experience? Because I know you work with startups, but also established companies.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've been doing some work with Eastern Michigan University, their entrepreneurial school. So
Hmm.
it's serving as a mentor to a number of the students that are in their program. And that's this happened just recently with this one woman. She had this company, really neat little company. She'd already started, it was running. She was applying for a grant through the school
Hmm.
to further her progress with the company. And we asked about mission statement, and she was very fuzzy about it. And what she had was, it was very, very off the cuff. It didn't sound like something that was thought out very clearly. So we sat and we went through this, and we went through the value system approach that I use,
Hmm.
and helped her sculpt a mission statement that she was excited about. You see, that's what's important. You got to be
Yeah.
excited about whatever it is you're putting together. So the key is, yeah, many times to answer your question, they have this great idea for their company and they're not really clear on the real purpose or the mission that they're trying to really put into practice.
Yeah, that's a great example because there's that excitement. I just want to get this out there. I want to
Hmm.
see what people think, want to make some money, and want to,
Hmm.
reinvest and keep building the company. But yeah, that bigger thing comes later when they start to think about what's my impact in the world? How do I want to be known? What's my legacy?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And yeah, I think it really can make a difference in your excitement level about what you're doing when you have that bigger purpose, because we aren't really motivated by the money or the sale. It's really that bigger thing of
Hmm.
making a difference. It might be
Absolutely.
subtle, and they might not even know that that's what motivates them, but it really is, because we know
That,
money isn't really a motivator. You know that.
that's right.
So, are there businesses that are successful without mission statements? Because not every business you go to really has that kind of thing going on, where, we usually think of this with like Fortune 1000 companies or Fortune 500 companies. But why do businesses really need one of these, no matter what size they are?
Well, first, yes, there are a lot of companies out there that probably don't have one, or if they have one, it's not being really examined or re-examined, and they're still going to get along. They're still going to be all right. They're going to be successful to a certain point. However, they could be so much more successful if they had a clear, articulate mission statement that everybody understood. And what I recommend to all my clients is we get the whole team together every year and re-examine that mission statement. You've had new people join the company, you've had people leave. So a lot of the new people don't even understand what the mission statement is or where it is. So to get them all together, to look at it and to take it apart, and maybe they want to start all over again with it, or maybe they want to tweak it. But the idea is to revisit it every year and to update it and make it something that everybody has a hand in creating. It's so important. You just can't write a mission statement and expect all your people to identify with it. Rather, it's like the old saying, people don't argue with their own data. So if get them involved, help them be part of that process of re-sculpting that mission statement. Even if it's just a word or two that's been changed from the last year, that's important. So people can identify with it, they understand what it is, and they can see how their own personal values are part of that mission statement.
Do you have an example of a mission statement or two that might be a favorite of yours?
I've got a couple of examples,
Okay.
and let me just read a couple. These are from some of the clients I've worked with. So again, they're going to be different, and I will say this about mission statements. I've seen some that are only a sentence long. I've seen others that are a whole page long. Now,
Wow.
what's right is what's right for your company. I think the more brief, the better. It's just going to be that much more understandable. Here's a couple. So this is a company that's a property maintenance company, and here's your mission statement. We provide high quality service in a professional and responsive manner, treating each client's property as if it were our own. Our friendly team members strive to perform the job in a safe and caring and effective manner. By providing superior customer service at a competitive price, we create loyal and satisfied clients. So that's one
Wow,
example.
I really like that one. I can visualize every single thing you said. Each of those things kind of touches on a value of mine, and it really flows. It's really, really well written.
Thank you. Well, that his company put it together. I helped him with it. But again,
Mm.
we'll talk about the process I've used to help my clients, and our listeners can see how that might work for them. Here's another example. Let's see here. And you can see there's a flavor that gets a little bit. influenced by my helping them, but because here's one. It's a company. It's a landscape company. This one says it this way: We are a growing family owned lawn care and pest control company. We are dedicated to providing superior quality and service through our value driven, knowledgeable, professional team. As a leader in the industry, we strive to provide a healthy, vibrant lawn for all our valued clients.
I
So there's
like
another
it.
one. Yeah. So what you're seeing there's something that's going on with these statements, and that is they've looked at what is important to them individually as people, and
Hmm.
then they put that in the context of how they are going to serve other people and fulfilling those values that they have. That's the approach. And then when that happens, it just makes it much more easy for that organization to function. I tell them, if anybody throughout the day at any given time isn't doing something that's supporting that mission statement, then they're doing the wrong thing. So, in other words, every action that takes place during the course of a working day, it should support that mission statement if that mission statement has been put together properly. And if not, then I would question the behavior or the actions that individual is taking during that course of the day where they're being paid to represent that company.
I think what I like also is I'm hearing in those statements about how they want the customer to feel. And that to me is really, really important because I can
Hmm.
feel those feelings by hearing that mission statement, you know?
Yes. Yes. See, here's the challenge, and we can go on and on about this topic in a couple of different directions, but how do we get people engaged in our company if they're not committed to that mission statement, if they're not part of that mission statement, if they haven't been co-author to that mission statement? You see, that's where we start to run into trouble as a company because people seem detached or they're just not really feeling part of what it is they spend 8, 10 hours a day at.
And that really should be one of the criteria you're also talking about when you're doing the initial interview, because if they're not really on board with those values, the time to find
Hmm.
out is before you hire them. So I think even, you know, asking them as an interview question, what do you know about, or talk to me about our mission statement?
Hmm.
That would
Yes.
be an interesting question. I'm sure many people would not know that what even the mission statement is of the company.
No, it's hard to find on a lot of websites.
Yeah,
Many
it is
times they
very
don't
hard
have.
to find.
However, that would be
So,
a great question. Go ahead.
when you're working with companies to go through the process of either creating a mission statement for the first time or revising or refining the one they currently have, how do you go about doing that? Who are you bringing into those meetings, and how are you setting this up? And what's take us through kind of the process a little bit.
Sure. So, what we want to have is everybody in the company present, everyone. I
What
don't
if
care.
it's a huge company? Then what do you do?
Then I would. Here's one. There's a couple ways to do it. One, you still have everybody present. Then break them into small groups, and then you have a representative from each small group report back to the large group, and you take the information down and
Ah.
you work it that way. That's a good way to do it. Another way is if they would do it individually, they had their own their own group meetings, and have the
Mhm.
representatives come back from that meeting, the individual group meeting, and they'd be part of another group to help put that together. There's probably a dozen different ways you can do it. That would be a
Mhm.
couple that I would suggest.
And so, what is the role you're playing when you're doing this process with your clients?
I'm a facilitator. We're going to just get them to articulate what they feel, what they want, and then I'll assign somebody to write down all the words we're coming up with. And typically, what we'll do, like with one company I did recently, we had them split into small groups. We had them answer the questions we wanted them to answer in the beginning, which, well, to start the beginning, we first had everybody look at a list of values, personal
Mhm.
values, and they
Yeah.
had to identify the top 10 personal values they could identify with. Now, there were probably about 150 values on this page, right? They had to go through it and it took a while. Then we got them to get the top 10 words that or values that they were able to identify. Then we have them narrow that down to the top 3 values, right? So now we've got just a few words from each person that we can put up on a whiteboard and start to identify and see who where the commonality is. So we take those words and now we understand where people are at personally with their own personal values. Then we walk over to another set of business type values that are similar to the values they looked at, but different because they're more in a business context. So what happens then is we start identifying the words from that list. And once we get the words from that list, we put them up on that whiteboard. And then we start to that's where the magic starts to happen. That's when we start to put sentences together from the words that describes why they are in business. And
Mhm.
it takes a while to do this. So it's a little cumbersome at first, a little clumsy, but we start to get these sentences put together and then we have them work on them. We kind of uh, make just edit them a bit and until they sound a little bit more flowing. And then that's about it for that day. We don't want to complete it in one day. Then ask the individual groups, or if it's just the one group, for each person to take the ideas or take the rough mission statement we put together and to think about it. Go back at home and on off hours and just think about it, go through it. If they want to change a word or cross a word out or add another word or two, fine. But we want it to percolate for a while. We want it to kind of sink in. Then when we get back together the next time, we now look at that rough mission statement we had up there before, and we make any tweaks or refinements to it that we need to make at that point. And that's usually when it gets pretty close to completion. Now, we may give it another day or two before we go back and finally finish it, but that's pretty much the process that we use. Now, here's the secret when we're doing this: getting people involved and letting them be part of that process of making it come to life. That's when it really takes on a real meaning that's significant to the people that are in that company because now they can really stand behind it. They help weave that mission statement, and it's something that's part of their DNA that they're identifying with. So that's where it gets very exciting and gets people very enthused about why they get out of bed in the morning and come to work.
Yeah, and I also see that added benefit of being involved in a meeting like this with all of the key people and talking about something that's not necessarily about sales or marketing or this or that. This is about our foundation. And that's a different kind of experience to come together for. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's a
yes.
different kind of experience of working with your team than any other thing you do in the company, which is operational.
Hmm.
So, and I like that because this is the closest I would say that people are aligned with their hearts and working with people in the company to do
Hmm.
something
Yes.
versus when we're in our heads and we're talking numbers and we're talking distribution channels and things like that, which is such a different skill set and
Hmm.
mindset.
Absolutely. And let's get real about this. We're only on this planet for so many years, days, hours. If you want to spend your time doing something that is significant and meaningful to you in your own personal life, then it would be important to be working for an organization that you can identify with those values and that you really are uh, get you excited to come to work to do what you've been called to do. In other words, your calling, it's your talent, your skill sets. We know the statistics. Far too many people are working at jobs they don't really want to do. They're not good at. They don't care for. Why? Because it's easier to do that than look for something that they really want to do. So the key is when we get into this business mission statements, we're really helping people get in touch with their personal life calling, their personal uh, mission, why they're on the planet, and how they can help others through the company they've chosen to work for fulfill part of that personal mission statement for themselves by being part of a larger mission statement that the company has.
Yeah, and we do see this beautifully reflected in our culture nowadays because some of these
Hmm.
younger generations are really, that is very important to them.
Hmm.
And it is a criteria to choose whether they want to work here or there. Because we all know we've all worked at companies that were at odds with our personal values, but maybe we didn't even know that. But
Hmm.
we figured it out later.
Hmm.
We didn't know why it was off. But
That's right.
folks are more savvy to that now and they know like does this company represent sustainability, or they care about the environment, or they care about social causes. I mean, it does make a huge difference. And it helps you
Mm.
select where you want to be. It's kind of like you vote with your dollars every time you buy certain products. And here you're voting with your lifetime, literally, by giving it to one firm versus another.
Absolutely. I just finished doing a coaching session with a vice president of finance with a company here in Michigan. And this person was at a crossroads. She wasn't sure she wanted to continue on with this company that she was with. And when we started looking at some of the reasons why, it's because after we did an exercise with her, we discovered the values of the company were not aligned with her personal values, her own personal professional values for herself. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So, that's it. She'd been uh, contacted by a number of recruiters in the past year, and she was didn't really want to change companies because she felt she had a pretty good thing going there. But when we started to look at the values that she put down on paper and how they did not align with the company she was working for, she just came to the conclusion right then there, this is it. I'm leaving. And since then, she's taken a position with another company with values that are in line with hers.
And that's a big and courageous move on her part, and tough
Yes,
to
it
do.
is.
But she's probably so much happier, and nobody wants to be out of sorts, with again your life and where you're investing it. That's great. Great
Absolutely.
story. So,
Mhm.
when it comes to creating these mission statements, what are some of the pitfalls or things that people need to avoid doing while they're going through that process? Or what are some things that, they might be veering off in a certain direction during the development process that maybe they should know about so they don't get off track? What are a couple things?
Well, first thing, we do need to take a look at their personal values first and really help them get clear on what those values are. So that's very important. That's the first step.
Is that kind
Second,
of foreign to some folks? Is that kind of an awkward situation, or if it's pretty much everybody gone through the values exercises at this point in our society?
it's very unusual for people to have done something like that, to put together their own personal mission statement or just be familiar with the values that are available to them that they can choose to identify with as they use that in
Oh,
their career
okay.
path. I will say another thing that is important. We just don't
Mhm.
rush it. Don't. It's got to be something you have to take the time to do it. Sit down and in a strategic way, you work through the process, so it helps you get very clear on what it is you are engaging your life in. What are your values? How does that apply to this organization? And it's everybody needs to be involved in that process in the organization because everybody's getting it, receiving a paycheck. Everybody's coming to work. Everybody's servicing that client or the internal client or the external client. So we all need to be connected in that respect to begin with. So I think you have to do the process right. You have to first do the process right, and don't rush it. And be willing to re-examine it on at least an annual basis.
Yeah, and I really like, that marination process where, you
Hmm.
do need to sit with it. It's kind of like when people would have these like workshops for like an hour or two, and it's like come up with your life vision or your mission statement.
Hmm.
You may not be inspired in that moment. Like it takes some
That's right.
time you don't
Sure.
find that thing in that second, at that hour, in that class necessarily. It has to be something that takes a little time,
Hmm.
because the brain that kind of has to get on board with it, and it has to be like filtered through your heart and your how does it feel, and there's a lot more to it than like, yeah, it's just not a exercise, let's get this done from 12
Hmm.
to 1 p.m.
Right. Yes. And go back to work and forget the whole thing. Right.
Right.
What mission
Exactly.
statement?
So after the fact, once they have that mission statement in place, the important part is really, well, they've come together to put it together, but it has to be communicated back out to the population,
Hmm.
because maybe you said like it could be in a big company and not everybody has been at every meeting because maybe there's tens of thousands of employees. But once it's in place, what are the important ways of getting this out to everybody so that everybody knows this is what we stand for?
Hmm. Well, there's a number of ways. First off, they should have it on their website. and in a clear place that can be seen readily. I would recommend on the homepage. They can put it first off. They've got to get this thing printed up and put it in their lobby of their organization. Or each person should have a personal copy of it. They can put it on the wall behind them wherever they're at, whether they're working from home or they're working at work. So it has to be very visible. I would put it on invoices. I would put it on. I would recommend my clients put it on your invoices, put it on your advertisement. Anything you do that people are looking at your organization. They're either receiving some type of an advertisement or their invoice or something, but make it visible. Make it visible so people can see it and be reminded of it. Again, that's probably one of your best selling points. If your values are in line with the people that are in that organization, and it's something that the client or customer can see that, wow, they really are serious about servicing people like myself because they really believe in this whole business that they're in. That's a whole statement to itself.
I really like that. And I really agree with that because when you are looking at that everywhere you go and you see it,
Hmm.
you're monitoring and you're measuring to that because it's right in front of you. It's just like
Hmm.
when you write your goals at the new year, if you don't read them every day, and I'm trying to do that this year,
Hmm.
it really makes a difference in what happens during the year.
Oh,
It keeps your
absolutely.
behavior in alignment.
And as I mentioned earlier, you have that mission statement behind you on the wall. When you're questioning whatever it is you're engaged in at that moment, if it doesn't support that mission statement, then maybe you shouldn't be doing what you're doing at that moment in time. Right?
Exactly.
Same thing for our clients. If there's a problem, and typically we can run this right back. I so my clients when they're talking to me about employee issues, where this employee did this or they did that or they didn't do this or they didn't do that, I just we just think about it out loud. Well, does that support the mission statement? Nope. Well, then this person needs to be talked to about that behavior or that action that they took or didn't take, and how important it is that they correct that because it's not supporting what they all stand for as an organization.
Exactly. So the next question I have,
Mhm.
before we need to wrap things up, is when you create the statement and all that. How often should you go back and review it? What do you suggest?
Minimum once a year.
Once a year.
When they get back together hopefully they're getting together more often than once a year, but when they get together to do their planning for the next year or their retreat for the year, they're looking ahead, they're going to do some strategic thinking, that sort of thing. That would be an important time to bring it out, review it. It's kind of like, if you think about it, it's a little bit like that one football coach, uh, legendary, what was his name? Vince Lombardi. He'd start his football practice in the spring for the next year. And the way he'd get all the players out on the field, they'd all be sitting down, and he'd take out a football and he said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And that's how he'd start it, right? Maybe that's something we need to do. Why are we in business? Well, okay, let's take a look at this mission statement we put together last year and go from there. That would be a way to look at it, quite frankly. But yeah, at least once a year, and from time to time refer to it in meetings. Just post it right there on the wall in that meeting room. Refer to that throughout the year when you're discussing things that are important to the company. Hey, how does this support our mission statement? How does this help us be the people we want to be working for the organization we want to work for?
Great advice. And I have one final question for you
Hmm.
before we wrap things up is if you could offer one quick piece of advice to entrepreneurs as it relates to mission statements, what would it be?
I would say, since it's the beginning of the year, which is a great time to think about this, is to make some time, set some time as an organization, set up a meeting time, sit down and either revisit your mission statement if you have one, or let's create one. And that would be my action suggestion for today.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom Borg of Tom Borg Consulting.
My pleasure.
If you'd like more information about our program, please visit us at www.michiganentrepreneurtv.com. Please join me again in the future when I interview another enterprising entrepreneur. Until then, wishing you the best of business.